Hello, everybody. It is the third day of Checkly's very first launch week. And if you're watching, let me just tell you what this launch week is about. So, a few weeks ago, we all came together at Checkly and thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if we could just bundle all the new features that are in the product pipeline and release them in 1 week, in one go? And we decided that we want to do this, which means for this week, we are shipping 4 new features in 4 days. And if you just came here by browsing the internet or clicking on a link in social media, let me just give you a brief introduction to Checkly. So Checkly is basically a active monitoring platform for developers. So if you're building things for the web and you want to make sure and guarantee that knowing that all your APIs are up and running, that they're fast enough, or that they're responding with the correct response bodies and status code, you can use Checkly to monitor all your API properties. And then if you want to level it up a notch, you can also set up browser checks to control headless Chrome and really make sure that you know that all your login flows, add to cart actions, and all the properties that sit on top of your APIs are actually up and running. And let's do a quick recap of the things that we already launched this week. So on Tuesday, we had Michelle, and Michelle showed us the new mobile improvements to our interface. So when you now receive an alert about a failing check, let it be an API check or browser check, you can click right on your phone, access all the necessary data to figure out if this alert needs immediate action, if you need to run to your computer and really check that or really fix something because your APIs or web service is down, or if you can maybe postpone it until tomorrow because it's not that bad. So this was a great addition for alert handling on the go. Then we had Umo joining, and speaking about alerts, we found out that a lot of users and customers had questions about alerts, and most importantly about alerts that maybe didn't make it to the responsible person. So for this reason, we released a new alert notification log, which allows you to debug all the alerts that we send to you. So in case you have a misconfiguration or you want to just have a look of what happened to your alerts, you can now do that too. Then we had Kaylee and Daniel joining us, and we went into the world of security and privacy and talked about SOC 2. And we were happy to announce that we are now officially SOC 2 compliant. And today, one last thing, we also released our new Slack community. So if you have any feedback, first of all, feedback or questions, drop them here today in the chat, please, because I try to read along and follow along, and we answer as many questions as possible. But if you want to connect with me or with the people that actually built Checkly, you can also go to checklyhq.com/Slack, and you can connect with us in real time. And as I already mentioned browser check, you may know that we are huge Playwright fans here at Checkly, and this leads me to my new guest because we have some news on the matter. So let us introduce Antoine. How's life, Antoine?
Hey Stefan, hey everyone, I'm Antoine, Senior Backend Engineer at Checkly, and I'm super happy to share what we've been working on the last few weeks, which is Playwright Test. So life is great. What about you, Stefan?
Well, I'm doing this launch week thing the entire week, but I can tell you that probably today is the feature that I'm most excited about. So do you want to tell us what you've been working on?
Sure, so we've been working on Playwright Test, so we can talk a little bit about Playwright first. So with Playwright, we were mostly doing browser automation. So we were spinning a new Chromium instance, new browser, pages, filling out forms. That's what we are doing basically. But actually with Playwright Test, it has a lot more features to it. So with Playwright Test, you can write multiple test cases within a single script. So this is super useful because you can have one test case that will check, for example, a page title, and another test case that will check for a button state. And all these features gives you a lot of possibility. And also Playwright Test had a little function called expect with a little bit sugar on top. And it's really interesting, but I will get to that in a few minutes. So
Yeah,
yeah.
this is one of the things that I needed to realize, right? So when I started playing around with Playwright, I always had the impression it's just another kind of browser control, right? You write a quick Node.js file to do something, right? Screenshotting something. And if you wanted to do, I don't know, assertions and all these kind of things on the way, you had to pull in your own kind of assertion library. You had to fail your own tests. And then when I realized that, also we talked to the Playwright people quite a little bit, when I realized that Playwright actually wants to push it up a notch and become this full-fledged test runner, testing framework, I was super, super excited. So do you want to show me what this all is about?
Yeah, sure, let's go ahead. So what we can see here is the checklist dashboard. So we can create a new browser check. And when you create a new browser check, we have a list of templates, and one of those is actually a Playwright Test template. It's quite a complicated one, so we won't go over it, but I've prepared a shorter one, so we can take a look for the demo.
All right, let me pick your prepared one. So I have a group here, and there's a simple prayer test check. Let's go and edit this one. So what do we have here?
So what we have, first of all, is the expect method is actually coming from Playwright Test library. And this is really important because Playwright Test actually adds a little bit of sugar on top of the expect method, and we'll see that in a few seconds. So after that, we have different steps. The first one is the describe. So it's basically a way to group your checks, your tests together. Then we have this hooks, which is the before each, but we also handles all different hooks like after each, after all, or before all. Then we have two test cases. One is actually looking for a page title, and the other one is clicking some links and doing assertions. So we can go over the second one. First of all, we can see we are looking for an element with the get started text. Once we have it, we are doing this assertion, which is to have attribute href /doc/intro. So as you can see, we are awaiting the expect method. So why that? Um, we all know how dynamic web pages are, right? You can click button, you can disappear, be visible again, change state. So it makes it a little bit difficult to assert the right state at the right time. So thanks to Playwright Test and the expect functions, it is what we call web first assertion, sorry. Actually, what Playwright Test is doing behind the scene is it will try these assertions over and over again until it succeeds or until it times out. So in our case, it will try to assert that the link we clicked have the attribute href and the /doc/intro. Once it's done, we go and we click the link, and the click actually works the same way. So we don't have to wait and do some checks before to make sure the link is visible. Playwright Test will do it for you. So this is pretty neat. Then we have a last assertion that is actually checking the page URL. So this is for the expect method, but it's not only the expect method. We have this cool new helpers. You see, to have attributes, to have URL. We have a bunch of those, like for example, to have JS properties, CSS classes, to be visible. So all these helpers actually help you to build good tests to actually test every workflow on your website, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, when I realized for the first time, so first of all, the Playwright team really thinks this entire web first web testing story through, right? I think you pretty much nailed it here. So first of all, there are these util web first functions, right? You don't necessarily have to check if something is hidden, or you don't have to check if something is gone. There's just a function for this. And then really just to repeat this whole web first assertion or this actionability stuff is so cool, because usually in UI testing, what you do is, well, you wait for something to appear and then you do something with it, and then you wait for the next thing to appear. But what Antoine just mentioned is that in Playwright Test, you can just write synchronous code. It looks synchronous, but it is actually asynchronous, because Playwright is trying and testing all these kind of things. And this is so cool. It makes writing tests so much easier. So what do you think? Should we give it a run?
Yeah, let's give it a try. We can already see some hints on traces and videos on the right for the Playwright Test.
But
And
here's written that we need a runtime. What is a runtime?
exactly. So at Checkly, we have what we call runtime. It's basically an isolated environment running a special version of Node.js. a special version of Chromium, and a set of dependencies. So in order to add dependencies or bump the version of them, we don't want to break your checks, right? So we create actually new runtimes every time. That's why, for example, the Playwright Test library is actually available for our latest runtime, which is 2022.02.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's give it a go. And I already see, let me just click one fancy button here. I think Thomas is excited. So let's run this. Oops. So we're running this browser check, and what do we see here?
Perfect. Our checks is successful, which is great. Little explanation of the screen. So at the bottom, we have all the logs of the checks, so all the raw logs. And on the right, you can see traces and videos. So we can start with traces and open one to see what this looks like.
All right, let's click this one, and I have to, whoops, do this. All right, what do we have here?
Okay, so traces basically is a summary of all the actions Playwright is doing. So you will see on your left all the new page, the go-to, the assertions, the click, everything will be listed under the action tab. Then in the middle, you will see what I call live snapshot. It's actually the Playwright website. So you can click on links, buttons. It's super cool. And you can also see where the Playwright test clicked on your test. So you can see the little red
So
dot
cool. So
and then
cool.
click on the get started button, which is really cool. On your right, you have three tabs, the call, console, and network. So basically the call tab will give you a little more information on your actions. So for assertions, it will give you what you expected, what you got, for example. The console tab will give you all the logs, the console logs, and also the network tabs will give you all the network calls. So this is for the bottom part, and at the top you see a timeline. So at the top you can see all the actions, the duration of all the actions, and also matching snapshots. So if you combine both of them, you will have a really powerful way to understand when something goes wrong, what went wrong, when, and why.
Yeah, I think this, already looking at this, right? And I played around with it, and I actually debugged something with this today while I was preparing something. But I have to admit, I'm an old console log debugging person, right? And this is so much better than what I'm used to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Stefan. Unfortunately, the era of console log debugging is over with playtest traces.
I take it. I take it. What else do we have here?
We here have videos. So videos are quite straightforward. Playwright Test will record a video for each of your tests from the beginning to the end. So you will have a full understanding of what is happening. So in our case, video is pretty simple. We click a link, but it can be as complicated as you want.
Yeah, so this video here is right now very, very short, right? But if the test case would be longer, do more things, we could also have a look at this using the video. But here is a trick question, Antoine. I totally see the need to access traces when I'm kind of writing my browser checks in here, right? But do we really, or do we record that all the time? I could envision that it's a lot of data that is just stored somewhere for successful stuff.
So that's a good question. Yes and no. So we are recording every time traces and video for each of your test cases when you are running a script within the editor. So you have this little blue button, run script button. When you click on it, we will record traces and videos for every test. Doesn't matter if it's successful or not. But actually, when we are running your checks for you, so at the interval of your choice, we will provide only traces and videos for failed test cases. So here we are on the check overview, and the check overview actually gives you all the successful and failed runs. And on the failed run, you can click on it and it will provide you the trace files and also the videos for the failing test case.
So this, I could really see this like a super powerful addition, right? I get kind of the alert, hey, something is off, and now maybe these exceptions or the error log is not enough information, so I can just open up the trace view and could have a detailed look, right? Is there a difference when
Definitely.
I look at the trace viewer?
Let's give it a try and see how it goes. So, okay, as you can see, we can still have our actions on the left, and the last action, which is our assertions, expect to have URL, we have a little danger icon. So we can see we still have our live snapshot, and on the right you can see that your expect failed. You were expecting the URL to be Antoine, but it's actually playwright dev/intro. So this is why it failed.
Yeah, this shows the integration of Playwright itself, right? Usually you use a different assertion library or something, but because you're using Playwright's expect, you can really get all this sugar on top, and it makes this really nice experience.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool. And then we also have video for failed things, right?
Yes, exactly. You will see also videos, so you can match both and have a clear view of what went wrong.
Cool. I think I'm honestly super excited about this because I think this just levels Checklist Playwright's capabilities to the next level. And we're really kind of supporting the latest and greatest. And this gets me very, very excited. But I do see, Antoine, here that there are a few beta labels everywhere. So what's the current state and what is coming next?
So the current state is this feature is still in beta, but we encourage everyone to try it. We just see how easy it is to set up a test and all the powerful features that we have with traces and videos. So everyone give it a try, and we have something really cool coming next, which is TypeScript support.
Ooh, yeah, I heard this is a thing. Darko mentions I'm not old. Well, I'm also not still completely on the TypeScript train. But what shall I say? I'm super excited about everything in the Playwright space. So this will be super nice. And Playwright and TypeScript comes with a lot of developer sugar on top, right? I think I see the need for it.
Definitely, it's amazing.
Cool. I think did we miss anything, Antoine? No, I think this was it, wasn't it?
This was it.
Well, then, thank you very much for joining. This was a great demo, and we talked to each other in Slack. And thank you so much for being part of our very first launch week. And with this, this was Playwright Test support. And if you have any feedback, please let us know, ideally in our public roadmap, or maybe you want to join Slack, which is checklishcrew.com/Slack. And with this, now we're already looking into tomorrow at what is next. So you might have heard of our GitHub sync feature, which will go finally into general availability tomorrow. I will have Lisa with me, and she will walk me through how you can use GitHub and Checkly together to make sure that your browser check code is in version control and your local development works all the right way. And I'm super excited about this because we will also use Playwright Test over there. And with this, I hope you had a good third day of Checkly's first launch week. I had a blast. Thank you, Antoine, for joining. And if you want to, we see each other tomorrow, same time, same place. And with this, have a great day.